So we've made it to week 8 and the game is on. This week we are focused on progress over perfection, and I'm excited to see what the APs come up with out of this week, how they prioritize making small progressions to have a better end result rather than focusing on perfection of performance, looking more at adopting the spirit of excellence and mastery versus trying to look, feel, be perfect in thought and mind and body. And so I chose this one just because I think, a lot of my practice as a mental health psychotherapist is helping people understand the subtle nuance that perfectionistic thinking relents and how oftentimes it leads to different and varying levels of dysfunction and ends you up cycling. And so one of the things that I oftentimes help clients understand is that perfectionism is a self-hatred, a cycle or perpetual cycle of self-hatred, because the only reason that perfectionism exists is to prove to ourselves that we're not perfect. And so we're constantly dealing with the letdown of not living up to unrealistic expectations of ourselves, rather than trying to adopt somebody else's standard for ourselves and live up to that. What I've found to be a lot more healthy, even for myself, is looking at the progress that I'm making over time and making a concerted effort to achieve small short-term goals, and then also embracing grace with myself, or striving for a spirit of excellence over anything else, understanding that my goal is to excel at this, that the journey is ongoing, and I'm always growing no matter what with that line of thinking. And that allows for me to kind of take the pressure off of feeling hypercritical of myself, or feeling that I've done myself wrong if I choose to have a cheat meal or a happy day meal. So this week we're really going to focus on the small progressions, and hopefully we can achieve over this next 14-15 weeks the bodies that we all want at this point in time. So here goes.
So perfectionism definitely hinders fitness goals, and not just fitness goals, but any goal for that matter, because goals should be reachable, they should be smart, they should be attainable, they should be something that you're able to measure progress, being able to see how close you are to truly accomplishing that goal that you set out for. If perfectionism is your target or your goal, it's really something that does not exist. And what do we look like trying to achieve a goal or goals that truly does not exist? I can tell you that we will become demotivated very easy, and our workouts will seem like they're not working when they really are. Because when you're marching towards a state that really doesn't exist, i.e. perfectionism, it really doesn't exist, then you are almost like a hamster wheel going round and round and round in circles. So it's better to seek progress instead of perfectionism, because in progress, you're truly able to measure that. Perfectionism, you are not.
One way I find myself always hitting restart, as I discussed and talked about last week, and that is because I feel like if I don't do everything exactly the way that I've planned it out to be or do, I'm looking at being perfect. There's no such thing. So each day I just need to look at it and think about how can I be better today than I was the day before.
the reality is that some progress is still progress, and that's okay. Some progress is still progress. Progress is progress. And
good morning, everyone. Today is exciting because I get to go and check out my first bodybuilding competition with some of the APs. We agreed to kind of get together and go check out the scenery. Chandria has competed before, so she kind of knows what this is all about. Thought it would be a great idea to go out and just check it all out and get a feel for it. So I am heading there now, and I'm actually running late, but that's okay. So let's see what I can figure out about this industry.
Had a lot of fun just hanging out with friends, but also got a lot of strength training in this weekend. I also got to get outside and enjoy the weather, so lots of cardio. I enjoy running outside, so had 2 great runs on Saturday and Sunday. We're in the process of taking these progress pictures, and those are a great reality check for me. It lets me know which areas I need to continue to focus on. But then also at the end of the day, I know that I am not perfect. I'm not striving for perfection. I'm simply trying to be fit. I want to be healthy, and I want to look good naked. So
I do think perfectionism is the enemy of progress for a couple of different reasons. One, I think perfectionism allows a lot of room and a lot of opportunity for self-sabotage, because you are trending or you are seeking a extreme level of excellence that may not exist. It basically says there's a certain way that you have to do it, and you cannot go outside the lines. It doesn't allow room for mistakes. It doesn't allow room for those cheat days that we enjoy. Whereas progress truly allows you to enjoy the journey, enjoy the moments, make a mistake, get back up. It allows grace. And perfectionists will always tell you you're not good enough. You didn't do that good enough. Whereas progress celebrates you along the way and helps redirect you when you make a mistake. So simply put, they're enemies because progress allows grace and perfectionism doesn't.
So I finished this morning's workout. Today was leg day. I worked about 30-40 minutes, and I felt like something's better than nothing. Each day is not going to always be perfect. And if I dwell on trying to be perfect, it would hinder my progress in the fact that how I probably typically view sometimes each day as being a failure. If I don't complete everything, I hit restart.
so just finished the workout. I'm getting ready to do some meditation. Get in the sauna. It is warming up. I'm almost ready. So about to get in. Perfect will hinder you from progress. So we're not looking for perfection, but we are looking for progress. And that's what I'm all about, is making some progress. So I am going to get back to my sauna session and have a wonderful week and continue to follow our journeys, share your journeys with us. Remember to hashtag me versus me mindset challenge.
This is the start of a new week. I am going to get on the scale to see how much I currently weigh, and then in a week I'll see if there's any losses or any gains. Intent is not to lose any weight, but to gain muscle and tone. Let's go. All right, 125. So as you see, I currently weigh 125. We'll see if there's any changes in 1 week. All right, here's me getting on the scale. And I'm about 145.5, which this is off a little bit. This morning I weighed in a little bit heavier than that, but I wanted to document my weigh-in. So the best results I tend to get are those that I do with absolutely nothing on. And so by doing that, you know, it took 1.5 off the scale. I tend to rely more on Renee's scale because every time I do a comparison, mine is about 2 or 3 pounds over. So when I go in the studio, I am going to document that as well as my body percentage. So I got about 10 more pounds to go, and body recomposition on its way. Week number 7. Let's do it.
One way to embrace progress over perfectionism is to really commit to enjoying the journey. And in doing so, you give yourself permission to be human, to make mistakes. And you give yourself grace. And when you give yourself grace, that means you can mess up and you can start back over again. And any goal of mine that I want to achieve, I want progress over perfectionism. I want to be able to celebrate along the way, enjoy the process and the journey while reaching my goal.
I like to make workouts fun and enjoyable. After going to the recent bodybuilding competition and hanging out with my APs, I felt re-energized and decided to find ways to keep my body in motion. This is, for me, key to combating thoughts of needing to be perfect, but just focusing my efforts in making bite-sized progress.
Hi you guys, I'm back. It's been a week. So let's see what my current weight is. If I've gained any muscle in 1 week, if that's possible, I would imagine it could be. Or if I've lost, or if I remain the same. Here we go. $124.5. So I'm down half of a pound. My goal is not to lose weight.
So my wedding renewal comes up in 12 or 11 weeks. And I really now, and I feel like I say this from week to week, have to focus in on redeveloping or recomping my body. So over this next few weeks, what you'll see in a large part of the Me versus Me challenge is us taking progress photos, weighing in from week to week, sharing measurements, and then also sharing like how we're getting there. So different eating strategies. I don't necessarily believe in one meal plan. I do believe in flexible eating just because the way my brain works, if I stick to a meal plan too long, if I start to go off from that, I start to feel guilt and shame and all these other emotions that just make eating unhealthy easier. And so I try to do, you know, what's within certain calorie range per day. Sometimes I'll break it down to macros per day, because then that allows me, if I do have a cheat meal, and it makes my macros off-centered, I can spread them out over the week versus feeling like I failed myself. And so having that guilt and shame drive me to eating more cheat meals. So, you know, this is what you see behind compulsive shopping or compulsive gamblers. It's not until they start to lose or they start to play more, or the same thing kind of happens with our eating when we view eating certain things in a negative way, you know, because we've already done wrong. Sometimes it'll make us feel like, well, it's okay to continue to do wrong. So one of the things that I used to say to myself was, oh, I've already had this cookie. Why don't I just go ahead and eat the whole bag? And we're talking about like family size cookies. So I've had to pull myself out of that way of thinking and give myself a little bit more grace and a little bit more leniency. As a result of doing that, I can feel my focus coming back. I can feel my my willingness to have a cleaner diet, a more whole foods diet coming back. And so that's really been helpful for me. So now I'm just focused on this next 11 weeks, 12 weeks to, you know, really start to put the pressure on with getting things in alignment. So I can't wait till I get there, because I get to then reveal all my hard work to myself. So wish me luck.
All right, so Miss Andrea, how are you doing today?
I am good. Today has been a great day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we are now in week 7 of this challenge. And, you know, we've had ups, we've had downs. How do you feel like you've fared so far?
Yeah, so am I where I want to be for week 7? No. But am I okay with that? Absolutely, because I am giving myself some grace. Now, I know my sis Renee says we get 5 graces, but I think I'm only at maybe grace 2. So anyway, you know, there certainly have been some ups, like you said, and certainly some downs. And so I've celebrated the ups because that's been progress. And what I've learned over the past, I don't know, few years, just thinking about how I've struggled with perfectionism. Some progress is still progress. It is okay to, you know, I set out and want to do a, you know, hour-and-a-half workout, but maybe my schedule for that particular day, you know, maybe I got up late. Maybe I have a meeting and it's early, and the only time that I have may be, hell, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So I've learned to adjust and be okay with that adjustment. So, you know, if it's just 15, 20 minutes, I better be intense with the HIIT session for 20 minutes, right? To try to maximize whatever time I may have.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned the idea of perfection. So this week, of course, we're focused on progress over perfection and, you know, embracing ourselves for where we are, striving for a spirit of excellence over that of perfection. Can you tell me, before you were able to adapt to this idea of progress versus constant comparison of perfectionism, what was that like for you, and how are things different as you approach your goals?
Yeah, so before, it was kind of all or none, right? Just, you know, here is the plan, and the plan consists of, you know, 6 days of cardio and or 6 days of strength training and 6 days of cardio. And if I didn't check the box on all of those, it was a sense of, damn, I failed, right? And it mentally played with me, because I'm like, well, man, I didn't get this done. And so when you start to so I'm a visual person, so when you start to look at things visually and with the mindset of perfectionism, and I'm checking stuff off, but I'm not checking everything off, then that really was detrimental to just reaching my goal, because I was so set on, damn, I missed this, this, and that. Not focusing on what I did do, it was always what I didn't do. And so now, thank God for a shift in mindset. I tell you, the mind it can be a battlefield. And so I feel like right now, I'm very intentional about focusing on how I can win with the time I have, right? And just really focusing on mentally being in a better space.
So how are you intentional from day to day to ward off those thoughts of being perfect or striving for any level of perfectionism?
Well, I go back to really my relationship with God. Hello, I am so thankful that I don't have to be perfect. Now I know that and I recognize that, because there is only one perfect person, and that is Jesus, the Son of God, came here, died for our sins. He was perfect. So I don't have to be. I can depend and rely on him. And that is refreshing, and it lifts a weight off that we were never intended to bear, right? I think of the scripture out of Matthew, take up my yoke, right? And let me bear it, right? Mm-hmm. So that just has had a whole new meaning. I don't think I understood that really until really recently. Mm-hmm. And so it's amazing how God's word is refreshing, and it hits when you need it to hit. Even if you've been familiar with the scripture or a word over the years, sometimes it doesn't hit until you need it to, right? Mm-hmm. And it has the meaning that it's supposed to have at that particular time. Mm-hmm. So that's been refreshing.
Awesome. And so it sounds like to me, to give a little practical spin on it, you've learned to kind of surrender up that part of you. What was it like for you when you were very much, heavy laden in the ideal of, like, how would that, because I heard you say it kind of held you back in some of the things, and
it did.
You focused on failure. And
it did. And in addition to that, I think I would take that out on my family. Mm-hmm. I didn't accomplish something for that particular day that I set out to accomplish. And so my whole attitude and demeanor changed. And I'm not happy about that, but it is what it is. And that is ultimately what happened. I would find myself being short or snappy with my husband for no reason, really. He didn't deserve it, but looking back, it truly was, me feeling like I failed myself, and so I want everybody else that's close to me to feel the wrath of me feeling like, I didn't do something I was supposed to do. But it's one thing, I have an executive coach, just to help professionally, well, and personally too, but every time when we meet and I say, well, I should have, she says, well, now who said you should? Where's this should come from? And she's right. So thank you, Janine. We have to dispel this myth of I should be at this place at this particular time. And no, and that's okay to recognize that where you are is where you are. And, how do you focus on in the moment right now, what can I do?
Absolutely. And just from a clinical standpoint, shoulds are distortions of reality. We call them cognitive distortions, right?
Yes.
But they're based on subjective experiences in life, not actuality, not anything real.
Yes. Let me get on this couch.
Uh-oh. I didn't put you on the therapy couch. But in saying that, I think about this idea of perfectionism, just kind of going back to our original interview together, and just some of the things that you kind of carried on you that led into your depression. Mm-hmm. And not many people know, like a lot of times I come across people and they'll say things like, well, I'm such a perfectionist. And what they don't realize that they're offering up in that moment, at least to the clinical ear, is that there's a degree of self-hatred. Because perfectionism is a perpetuated cycle of self-hatred, because the only reason it exists is to prove to yourself over and over again that you're not perfect. Right? And so once you kind of step out of that and you get to see how that loop used to play in your life, you get real insight into self.
Absolutely.
So what parts of you during that time were you not in agreement with that allowed that perfectionism into your life?
Yeah, so thinking about all of what you just said in that particular question. So for me, personally, I wasn't happy with my body. You know, so I competed, right? And so, you know, mentally, you're at a place where you see your body at a certain body fat percentage, and that is stage weight and stage weight only. It is not intended to, you know, walk around with 10% body fat. However, because I liked that look and I felt really great about my body, I was very confident, and it was a sense of accomplishment. But again, once I kind of got out of that and gained normal weight, right, it was still like, man, I'm just not really happy with this, because I've seen over here where I want it to be, right? So that's personally. And then professionally, I would say, you know, where I thought I would be at this point in time, or at least maybe about a month ago or so.
Probably about 4 or 5 months ago.
4 or 5 months ago, yeah, I was thinking I would be somewhere different, right? A different level, different set of responsibilities, and all of those things. So it was that whole I should be, you know, that's why I can speak so much about it, because, you know, that has played in my head, and I don't mind really sharing about that, because I know that there are so many women that fall into that trap. And if I can just speak just a little minuscule
word of encouragement.
Yeah, word of encouragement. Please get out of your head with the should and just accept where you are right now. Be aware. I think awareness is half the battle. But know that where you are is still progress over where you were, right? It's, and I posted the other day, you know, if you're still in the same place that you were now as in last year, then there's probably some work that you need to do. Absolutely. But 9 times out of 10, you're not in the same place, and you actually have grown in some shape, form, or fashion, in some way or another. And so recognize the growth, even if you feel like the growth isn't where you think it should be. It is still growth. And ultimately, you know, God's timing is the best timing. And so I can't say that enough, that his timing absolutely is the best. And so once I surrendered and relinquished whatever control I thought I had, God already had stuff lined up for me, because what God has for you is for you. I'll tell you that. And so oftentimes he allows things to happen and you go through different seasons in order for you to grow and to prepare you for what he has. But that can be delayed by us. We can delay that. And I certainly delayed it for me. Even though I said I wanted to be here and there, it wasn't time. And so once I relinquished and let that go, man, God said, okay, here you go. You know, and I'm still kind of in awe of just this season right now. And so I'm just thankful. I'm thankful for this fitness journey. It comes at a really good time because it allows me to focus and keep me as a priority and to fill my cup so that I can give the overflow to all of those that are around me.
Very insightful. So a bit of a tricky question for you, but I really want you to think through it. With the knowledge that you have now about what you went through to be able to arrive where you are, if you as an adult today had an opportunity to go to yourself a year ago when you were going through that depression, that what we titled hiatus in your first cover, What would you want to coach her through just as a fellow Black woman? What would you want to say to her or help her with?
Wow, what a poignant question. So part of coaching, in my opinion, when coaching others, is the individuals that you're coaching, they have to be open and receptive. They have to be coachable. And, I don't know if I was in a place, if I had the mindset to be coachable and to receive. For example, there were, a few close people that were around me that, I highly regard them, and they would share things, but I don't think I was really receptive at that point in time. And so I guess one thing I would say, and for me, I think I really just needed the time to reflect. But I also needed the time to be still and hear from God and realize that God was putting people around me and they were speaking to me on his behalf. And they were the folks that were expressing God's love because, quite honestly, several of them would reach out. I wouldn't return calls. I wouldn't return text messages, or any of that. So I think about that, and, for someone that was not a true friend, they would have easily just kept it moving and not continue to pursue and follow up. But that wasn't the case with several people. And so I'm thankful that they hung in there. And I distinctly remember our AP, Decatur, her words were, "God won't let me leave you." And that just stuck with me. Because I think about, okay, my husband, technically, he took vows. So obviously we said for, richer, for poor, for better, or for worse. But he didn't necessarily have to stay around for that, but he did, right? And so I'm thankful for that. So he kind of, I guess, had to, so to speak. But the others didn't necessarily have to. And so to hear from them and for them to continue to pour into me, I would say again, get still. So my advice would be get still so that you can listen. There was so much noise that I inflicted on myself, and just noise on social media, because also during this time, of course, heightened sense of, in terms of social injustices and politics and pandemic, and just, it was so much on top of, trying to manage at home and all of those things. So get still and be mindful that those that are pursuing you, it might be because they're on assignment from God.
So you would tell her to get still,
yes,
get to position.
Absolutely.
How do you think she would respond?
Again, I think, so me, going back to my, I guess, younger self, depending on where I was, what state of mind, I might be receptive, I might not be. And so, again, I think just with a lot of prayer and love and support and God's grace, I was able to finally be receptive, honestly. So it's a process.
It is.
As you know.
And working through that process, you kind of have gleaned all these amazing messages about that journey, which kind of proves that maybe it was necessary
Absolutely.
to go through that refining process of sorts.
Yeah, I do feel it was necessary. Now, on the other side, going through it, not so much. But, yeah.
And we oftentimes don't see the mountain or the cloud or the storm
Absolutely.
when we're going through it, right? So I'm just excited to see that you made it.
Hallelujah.
God knew you would. Your friends, Decatur, knew you would.
Yeah.
And you've just kind of been sticking to this. So if you could give her a piece of advice based on everything that you've learned, what's the one thing you would tell her? And I want you to tell her as if you were talking to her.
You are loved, and you are supposed to be here, and you have a story to tell.
So as you journey into these next weeks, I think maybe that is something that even now can still permeate as you go through the ups and downs of this fitness journey, reminding yourself even of just that, right? You are loved, you are purposeful, you are meaningful, you are all those things that God says that you are. And no matter where we end up come October and November, we are still just right. Thank you for that reminder.
Yes.
So you recently posted, to conclude, to stage or not to stage, because we got an opportunity to go see.
Yeah.
Look, that's my way of bringing it full circle, right? To go see some amazing bodies. It was over the weekend, right? And even eat some cheating vegan food in the process, which was delicious.
I don't know if that would be clean. It was too.
No,
dirty
it was too dirty.
clean.
It was too like when you go through a meal in like
But
less
hey,
than 5 minutes.
check out vegan Black Leaf Vegan.
Yes.
It was really good.
Yes, and we'll post the picture up.
Yeah.
But has a decision been made for you?
You would ask me so that everyone else can hold me accountable.
Or you could just say, we'll see. Yes, this is your opportunity to step up to the plate, AP, and be held.
All right, so inquiring minds want to know, to stage or not to stage? That is the question. I say let's do it. To stage, let's do it.
Well, congratulations on now your widely held view
I gotta do it.
making this commitment, because now no pressure.
No pressure. No pressure.
Progress over perfection, making every attempt at adopting a spirit of excellence, and knowing that you only can do what you can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amen. So is there any last words that you'd like to leave for me?
Yeah, I am thankful for the Me versus Me Mindset Challenge. It certainly has been a blessing, and I would love to hear how it's going for all of you. Be sure to post and hashtag Me versus Me Mindset Challenge. Let us hear your stories. Share with us. We're sharing each week and being open and honest, and no judgment or anything. And so we want to hear from you. So chime in and let us know. Show pictures, because we're all in this together. And I think the beautiful thing about this journey is it's just amazing women with a common goal, and ultimately that is to be our best selves. Mind, body, and spirit.
Yes,
so
absolutely. Well, thank you, Miss Andrea, and I cannot wait to see us in October.
So what if he's gonna say us?
In November. Me for my wedding in September.
Uh-huh.
But yes, to compete right along with you.
Yes, it's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to the journey.
Amen. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.